Pay attention to the woman in the black dress in this apartment CCTV footage. That's 28-year-old Ana Abulaban, returning home after picking up takeout with a friend. Walking beside her is 29-year-old Rayburn Barron, a companion she met recently at the gym. They laugh and carry food containers, unaware that Ana's estranged husband has been listening to every word through their daughter's iPad. What they don't know is that Ali Abulaban, a TikTok personality, and Ana's soon-to-be ex is racing toward the building. He's armed, enraged by what he overheard, and ready to strike. Minutes later, he enters the apartment. Gunshots echo. Rayburn falls first, then Ana. Ali leaves calmly, drives to pick up his daughter, as if nothing happened. Within 3 hours, Ana and Rayburn would be pronounced dead, and Ali would be in custody after accidentally confessing the double murder he had committed. In order to understand everything that really happened that day, it is important to learn about Ali Abulaban. Ali Abulaban knew how to command an audience. Behind the persona of Jin Kid, this TikTok star had mastered the art of performance, building a massive following with his spot-on Scarface impressions that captivated hundreds of thousands of fans. But what millions saw online was only part of the story.
They claiming behind the scenes of Jin Kid, the violent demeanor was real even years before he rose to TikTok stardom.
On the Scarface act that made him internet famous wasn't just entertainment. Those who knew Ali in real life saw something darker bleeding through the performance. His aggressive swagger, the need to dominate every conversation, the way he spoke down to people. It wasn't just for the camera. A friend of Ana Abulaban took the stand to share what life was really like around Ali. The picture she painted stood in stark contrast to the charismatic persona millions followed online.
Just very derogatory, would speak down to her.
The testimony continued, revealing the uncomfortable truth about his behavior in social settings.
This whole Scarface act was very common back then as well. He just always had to be better than everybody else in the room. He spoke down to a lot of us. It actually kind of made me distance myself toward the end because I just couldn't stand being around him. He made everybody in the room feel uncomfortable. It was just very physical and verbal.
This wasn't just a man playing a character. The violent, domineering persona he performed as Scarface had become part of who he was. The need to be the alpha in every room, the verbal put-downs, the way he made people around him shrink. It all pointed to something much more sinister than an actor getting too deep into character. Ana bore the brunt of this transformation. The same aggressive energy that earned him likes and shares online turned into controlling behavior behind closed doors. The derogatory comments, the verbal abuse, the constant need to assert dominance. It all created an environment where Ana felt trapped, watched, diminished. And in this environment, the worst was bound to happen. October 21st, 2021, a high-rise apartment in San Diego. Ana Abulaban had moved on. She'd separated from Ali, and for the first time in years, she was building a life without him. That day, she had company, Rayburn Barron, someone she'd recently connected with. Neither of them knew what was coming. The prosecution built their timeline methodically. Ali Abulaban hadn't just shown up by chance. He'd been listening. Days earlier, he'd planted a listening device in the apartment. His apartment, technically, though Ana had been given sole access. When he heard another man's voice through that device, something inside him snapped into action. Security cameras captured him entering the building. The footage shows exactly what the prosecution needed to prove. This wasn't spontaneous rage. This was someone who'd made a choice.
Abulaban said he snapped when he saw Ana and Barron together cuddling on a couch, which led him to shoot and kill them both. He also testified he had no intention of killing them. Abulaban called his mom just 4 minutes.
He had a loaded gun. He'd driven there deliberately, and within seconds of entering that apartment, he opened fire. What happened next became the most devastating evidence in the entire trial. The surveillance system that Ali himself had installed captured everything, not just the moments leading up to it, but the actual shooting itself. The audio that played in the courtroom left the jury, the gallery, and even Ali himself visibly shaken.
Just moments before this confession,
6 shots, a scream, the terrible finality of what had just happened, preserved in an audio file that would seal Ali Abulaban's fate. The prosecution noted the cruel calculation in his actions. Ray was shot first, execution style, in the head. Then Ana, who had just witnessed her friend murdered right in front of her. Both died within seconds. Ali's reaction in court as the audio played revealed the weight of what he'd done. The persona, the swagger, the domineering presence, it all crumbled.
Ali Abulaban opened the door to the apartment and within 3 seconds fired 6 shots, killing Anna and her friend Rayburn Barone, and then crying out for his wife.
But the audio didn't stop there. In the immediate aftermath, as the chaos of what he'd done began to register, the surveillance captured his voice calling out. 4 minutes later, he made a phone call, not to 911, not for help. He called his mother, and what he told her became one of the most damning pieces of evidence the prosecution had. There was no ambiguity, no confusion, just a clear, explicit confession of what he'd done and why he'd done it. But he wasn't finished talking. The repeated confession, "I killed her," would become impossible for the defense to explain away. This wasn't someone in denial. This wasn't someone claiming self-defense or accident. This was someone who knew exactly what he'd done. 12 minutes passed between the shooting and his call to 911. 12 minutes where Anna and Ray lay dying or already dead. 12 minutes where someone who truly wanted to help could have called for an ambulance, could have tried to render aid, could have done something, anything, other than preserve himself. The crime scene that investigators found painted a brutal picture. Digital recreations shown to the jury illustrated the violence of what had occurred. 2 people who'd been alive and laughing just moments before, now gone.
Abulaban yelled respect when shooting Anna and Barone and then manipulated their bodies. The second one happened when the prosecution was questioning Abulaban about things he reportedly searched on his phone.
Anna Abulaban was 29 years old, a mother, someone who'd been trying to escape a toxic relationship and build something better for herself and her daughter. Ray Barron, known to friends as Rayburn, was someone who'd simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time, caught in the crossfire of Ali Abulaban's jealous rage. The prosecution rested their case on the strength of that evidence. The audio, the confession, the timeline, the deliberate actions that led to 2 innocent people losing their lives. The question wasn't whether Ali Abulaban had killed them. He'd admitted that himself, on tape, multiple times. The question was whether the jury would see it for what the prosecution argued it was: premeditated, calculated, cold-blooded murder. The defense wanted this painted as passion, a husband who walked in, saw something that broke him, and lost control in that moment. But the prosecution had a different story to tell, one backed by digital footprints, calculated decisions, and a timeline that didn't match spontaneous rage. They started with the searches. Days before the murders, Ali Abulaban's Google history revealed something chilling. He'd been looking up trash cans, not just any search, multiple queries, specific models, the kind of search someone makes when they're planning to dispose of something. The prosecution displayed these searches in court, each one appearing on screen like pieces of a puzzle clicking into place.
In the weeks and days leading up to the shooting, among them up bodies and trash cans. The prosecution is trying to prove Abulaban planned to kill Anna and Barone, but Abulaban's defense has maintained this was a crime of passion. The killings happened in October of 2021 at the Spire high-rise building in East.
But the searches were just the beginning. The prosecution methodically walked the jury through what Ali had done in the days leading up to October 21st. He hadn't just shown up at that apartment by chance. He'd installed a listening device, a surveillance tool that let him monitor everything on a set, everyone she talked to, every private moment in what was supposed to be her safe space away from him. This wasn't a man respecting boundaries. This was someone who couldn't let go, who needed to control, even from a distance. The listening device proved planning. It proved surveillance. It proved he was waiting for something, or someone. The prosecution's theory crystallized around a simple fact. Ali Abulaban drove to that apartment with a loaded gun. He didn't grab it in a moment of rage. He brought it with him, ready, chambered, prepared to use it. And when he entered that apartment, he didn't hesitate. He didn't argue. He didn't give anyone time to explain or react.
The fact that the victims were helpless, completely taken by surprise. The planning of a listening device, firing within seconds of entering the apartment, clearly showing an intent to kill, not heat of passion. Willful, deliberate, premeditated, cold-blooded murder.
The timeline became damning when the prosecution zeroed in on what happened after the shooting. The audio had captured it all: the gunshots, the aftermath, the terrible silence that followed. But it was what Ali did next that revealed his state of mind. 4 minutes after firing those shots, he made a phone call. Not to 911, not to emergency services, not to anyone who could help the two people bleeding out in that apartment. He called his mother, and during that call, he did something the prosecution would use to destroy any claim of confused passion or temporary insanity. He confessed, clearly and explicitly, exactly what he'd done and why. But here's what made it worse. 12 minutes passed between the shooting and his call to 911. 12 minutes. Anna and Ray lay there dying or already dead, while Ali Abulaban thought about his next move. The prosecution hammered this point home repeatedly.
Never did a single thing to help her inside the apartment, correct?
The cross-examination became brutal as the prosecution pressed Ali about those 12 minutes. What was he doing? Why didn't he try to help? Why didn't he call for an ambulance? His answer revealed everything the jury needed to know about his priorities in that moment.
I didn't think I was capable of it. I didn't know how to.
You did not do a single thing to help her, right?
The prosecution wasn't buying it. They went harder, forcing Ali to confront exactly what he'd failed to do in those critical minutes.
You did not call 911 inside the apartment after you shot and killed Anna and Ray, correct?
Not immediately, no.
When pressed, Ali couldn't deny the basic facts. He admitted the delay, the inaction, the choice to preserve himself, rather than help the people he'd just shot.
So today, following the lunch break, the defense asked for a mistrial, saying some of the questions coming from the prosecution were misleading.
But the prosecution had more. They presented text messages Ali had sent to his cousin in the days before the murders. Messages about killing. Messages that showed his mind had already gone to that dark place. That the idea of ending Anna's life wasn't some split-second decision born from shock. It was something he'd been contemplating, discussing, building toward. They showed the pattern of controlling behavior, the verbal abuse, the way he dominated every space, the inability to let Anna move on with her life. This was a man who saw his wife as property, not a person. When she tried to leave, when she dared to be with someone else, his response wasn't grief. It was rage, coupled with calculation. The execution-style shooting of Ray Barron became a focal point. Ray wasn't involved in their marital problems. Ray was simply there. But Ali shot him first, in the head, giving him no chance to defend himself or even understand what was happening. Then he turned to Anna, who just watched her friend murdered right in front of her eyes.
Not involved in their problems at all. But he shot Ray first. Shot him in the head. In an attempt to kill. You don't shoot people in the head unless you want to kill them. And in front of Anna. That was deliberate. He wanted her to see it. Very cruel. He took photos immediately afterwards. Who does that?
The evidence had accumulated, and the prosecution rested their case confident they'd proven beyond any reasonable doubt that Ali Abulaban was guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, twice. But Ali still had something he needed to get off his chest. 3 days on the stand. 3 days of walking through the worst moments of his life, defending the indefensible. And by day 3, Ali Abulaban was starting to crack. The prosecution wasn't letting up. They'd systematically dismantled his version of events, picked apart his timeline, exposed the inconsistencies in his story. Now they were going for something deeper. They were attacking his character, his credibility, his very nature. The cross-examination had already been brutal, but what came next pushed Abulaban past his breaking point. The prosecutor made a suggestion, something about what Ali had said in those final moments before pulling the trigger. The implication was devastating, that he demanded respect from Anna before shooting her in the head, that this wasn't blind rage, that he'd spoken, made a statement, asserted dominance one last time before ending her life.
Before you shot Anna in the head, you said respect to her.
Abulaban's response came fast and furious. The composure he'd been clinging to for 3 days evaporated in seconds.
I did not say that.
And you shot her because she had disrespected you and was with Ray, correct?
No.
Right after you shot Anna in the head, you pushed her head down into Ray's lap, right?
Oh, I'm not gonna tolerate this.
Courtroom tension was palpable. This wasn't the calculated TikTok performer anymore. This was someone losing control, unable to maintain the facade under pressure. The jury watched as the man who'd built a following on playing tough guys couldn't handle tough questions. But the prosecution wasn't done. They had more ammunition, and what they brought up next would trigger the most explosive moment of the entire trial. The question came out of nowhere, catching everyone off guard. A reference to searches in Abulaban's internet history that went beyond trash cans and bodies.
On October 18th, you were also researching porn videos, correct?
What?
What happened next shocked the courtroom. Abulaban didn't just deny it, he erupted.
What'd you just say?
That's what you were researching, correct?
Say it again?
Porn videos.
You're out your mind.
Then came the full explosion. Abulaban stood, pointed, and challenged the prosecutor directly. He questioned the evidence disclosure, demanded to know where this information came from, gestured toward his defense team. The calm, remorseful defendant his lawyers had been trying to present disappeared completely.
You're out your mind. Show me the teen you just said. You want to pay me some kind of show me what you just said. I've never seen that in a discovery. I've been incarcerated 3 years. You never showed that to my team. Where did you get that?
The volatility on display was damning. Here was a man who just spent 3 days trying to convince a jury he'd simply snapped in a moment of passion, that he wasn't violent by nature. And now he was standing in court, shouting, pointing, losing control over a line of questioning. If anything proved the prosecution's point about his temperament, this was it. The defense immediately moved for a mistrial. They argued the prosecutor's tactics were inflammatory, that the questions insinuated things not in evidence, that this was prejudicial and improper. The motion was denied. The trial would continue, and the damage to Abulaban's credibility was already done. And what the jury saw wasn't someone capable of remorse. It was someone capable of exactly what the prosecution had been arguing all along. But the big moment was still coming. After all the evidence, all the testimony, all the raw emotion that had filled that courtroom for weeks, it came down to 12 people sitting in deliberation. They'd heard Abulaban's voice on that surveillance audio, heard him confess to his mother, watched him crumble on the stand. They'd seen the timeline, the searches, the pattern of control and violence. The jury didn't take long.
Verdict. We, the jury in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Ali Nasser Abulaban, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree. Of Rayburn Cardenas Baran in violation of Penal Code Section 187, Parent A, as charged in
First-degree murder, both counts. The maximum verdict the law allowed. Anna Abulaban, Rayburn Barron. 2 lives deliberately, premeditatedly ended. But in cases like this, the verdict is only half the story. The other half belongs to the judge, the moral and legal reckoning that comes when the court speaks not just about what the law requires, but what justice demands. Judge Jeffrey Fraser had sat through every moment of this trial. He'd watched the evidence unfold, observed Abulaban's demeanor, heard the testimony about who this man really was beneath the TikTok persona, and when the time came to impose sentence, he made something clear. He'd reviewed the verdict independently. He'd considered whether the jury got it right.
Simple reason. The jury heard all of the evidence. The jury evaluated all of the evidence. The jury came back with a first-degree verdict, which was the correct verdict. It was a verdict that, when you look at the totality of all that happened during this particular crime, it's the only verdict a reasonable person could come up with.
The judge didn't stop there. He systematically walked through exactly why this was first-degree murder. Not passion, not a moment of lost control, but calculated, premeditated execution. He enumerated the evidence piece by piece, the text messages about killing, the controlling, demeaning behavior toward Anna in the weeks and months before, the listening device, planted, monitoring, waiting.
Defendant's text message to his cousin about killing. Defendant's controlling, demeaning behavior. He said just a few minutes ago, he wants us to know who he is. That's who he is. It's very clear from the videos.
Then came the actions on October 21st itself, driving over to that apartment with a loaded gun. The planning, the preparation, the deliberate choice to bring lethal force.
This driving over to the apartment with a loaded gun. The fact that the victims were helpless, completely taken by surprise. The planning of a listening device. Firing within seconds of entering the apartment. Clearly showing an intent to kill, not heat of passion. willful, deliberate, premeditated, cold-blooded murder.
But what the judge emphasized most wasn't just the premeditation, it was the cruelty. Ray Barron had nothing to do with their marital problems. He was simply there, in the wrong place, at the worst possible time. And Abalaban shot him first, execution style, in the head. No warning, no chance to defend himself or even understand what was happening.
Ray was not involved in their problems at all. But he shot Ray first. Shot him in the head. In an attempt to kill. You don't shoot people in the head unless you want to kill them. And in front of Anna. That was deliberate. He wanted her to see it. Very cruel. He took photos immediately afterwards. Who does that?
And then there was Anna. The judge's observation about her murder was particularly damning. Abulaban had made her watch. He'd shot Ray first, forcing Anna to witness her friend's execution before turning the gun on her.
Her to see it. Very cruel.
The judge brought up something else, something that revealed Abulaban's mindset in those moments after the shooting. He'd taken photos, documentation of what he'd just done, of the bodies, of the scene.
He took photos immediately afterwards. Who does that? Calls his mother. He had 3 days on the stand to explain his actions. He explained them. And the jurors came up again with the only reasonable verdict, which is a first-degree verdict. They also found, because there was 2 deaths, that this was multiple murder. Under Penal Code Section 190.283.
The aggravating factors continued to pile up. The violence involved, the use of a firearm, the vulnerability of the victims, people who had no time to react, no ability to defend themselves, no chance at survival.
It involved great violence, it involved a firearm, it involved vulnerable witnesses, victims who, again, had no time to react, no time to defend themselves. It involved planning. I don't think you could say it was sophistication or professionalism, but it certainly involved planning.
The defense had tried to introduce mitigating factors, reasons the court should show mercy. Abalaban's childhood trauma, the abuse he'd allegedly suffered, his struggles with substance abuse, the emotional devastation of his marriage falling apart. Judge Fraser addressed each one directly, and he rejected them all.
Some mental health issues, but I reject the fact that his childhood contributed to this at all.
And the judge's point was clear. Terrible childhoods are not a pass for murder. Substance abuse doesn't excuse calculated violence. Personal struggles don't justify taking 2 innocent lives. He hears these stories constantly. Most people who experience trauma don't commit double homicide, but perhaps the most pointed assessment came when Judge Fraser turned to Abalaban's demeanor throughout the trial. The tears, the emotional displays, the apparent remorse. The judge had been watching, and he'd drawn a conclusion.
He's a very talented actor. He is a very talented actor.
Twice. He said it twice. A very talented actor. The implication hung in the air that everything Abalaban had shown in that courtroom, all the emotion and regret, might have been just another performance, another character he was playing. And then the judge made a connection that tied everything together. Abalaban's online persona, his fame as Gin Kid, his Scarface impressions that had made him popular on TikTok. The judge suggested that when Abalaban committed these murders, he hadn't just lost control. He'd become that persona.
When I saw the Scarface videos, it's as if when he committed these crimes, he became that persona of Scarface. Just cold-blooded killing without remorse.
Cold-blooded killing without remorse. It wasn't passion, it was performance. The act of someone who'd spent so much time playing violent characters that the lines between fiction and reality had blurred completely. The judge's final assessment of Abalaban's character was devastating. He didn't believe the remorse was real. He saw selfishness, not regret. A man concerned with his own fate, not with the lives he'd destroyed.
I say that I think he's sorry for having killed these 2 innocent human beings. He's a very selfish person, as I think the jury saw. that was something that his character kind of came through. When we asked who is Ali Abulaban, that's who he is. He's somebody that is only thinking about himself, and the idea of killing two innocent people doesn't disturb him.
Then came the sentence, the words that would define the rest of Ali Abulaban's existence.
He will die in prison. He will never be a free man. He will take his last breath.
The courtroom erupted, not in anger, but in relief. The validation that justice had been served, that Anna and Ray's lives had been properly accounted for. Two consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole, plus 25 years to life on each firearm enhancement. The numbers were almost beside the point. The message was clear. Ali Abulaban would never walk free again.
50 years to life plus no loss.
The defense sought clarification, wanting to ensure they understood the full severity. The judge confirmed it without hesitation. Consecutive, not concurrent. 2 separate life sentences, 1 for each victim, plus the enhancements.
Plus 01. So yes, they are consecutive to each other.
Thank you.
As deputies led him away, Ali Abulaban's expression was subdued. The performance was over. The character had played his final scene. What remained was the reality. Decades stretching ahead in a prison cell. The weight of what he'd done following him every single day.